When Malcolm Royce was arrested outside a bodega in the early morning haze of downtown Raleigh, the responding officers saw what they expected to see: a disheveled black man with a weathered coat and a reputation that didn't precede him. To them, he was just another vagrant with nothing to lose. But Malcolm wasn't just another name on the daily arrest sheet. Before society turned him invisible, he had been systematically erased from it. His days began in the shadows behind the church dumpsters, where the early sun barely touched the concrete, and the only witness to his routine was a three-legged mutt he called Sergeant. Every morning, Malcolm shared a piece of his meal with the dog, the only creature in the world who responded to his voice without suspicion. "Same time tomorrow," he'd say after they ate, adjusting his backpack with military precision. No one asked why a homeless man spoke in clipped commands, why he surveyed alleyways like they were war zones, or how he knew the city's rhythm better than anyone who walked it in clean shoes. That changed when he stepped into Lyle's Market on Mason Street, coins in hand for a bottle of water. Lyle Goodman, a wiry white man with thinning hair and a temper like dry tinder, didn't care for Malcolm's presence. "What is this, a shelter?" Lyle had sneered, pushing the coins back. "It's what I paid yesterday," Malcolm said evenly, voice gravel-thick but calm. "Well, today's different," Lyle spat. "Price went up. Now get out." When Malcolm didn't move quickly enough, Lyle reached across the counter and shoved him backward. Malcolm staggered but stayed upright, his stance subtly shifting, not aggressive, but trained, controlled. And that's when Lyle made the call that would unravel everything. "He threatened me," he told the dispatcher. "Said he'd burn the place down." 10 minutes later, squad car lights painted the sidewalk red and blue. Officers Craig Dempsey, Ross Kilpatrick, and veteran cop Jeff Doyle stepped out. Lyle pointed immediately. "That's him," he said, as if spotting a pest. Malcolm, seated on the bench, didn't run. Running meant guilt. Running meant death. Dempsey tackled him before he could speak, slamming him to the pavement with force unbefitting a man pushing 62. Blood spread from a gash on his temple. Doyle cuffed him tight, twisting Malcolm's arms until his shoulder clicked out of socket. "He went crazy," Lyle said, eyes bright with self-justified panic. "Thank God y'all came." At booking, they found nothing but a worn Bible, a broken pen, and a pack of chewing gum in Malcolm's backpack. That didn't stop Officer Kilpatrick from planting a switchblade and a bag of powder inside before filing the evidence report. The system began to move swiftly. Arrest reports filed, mugshots taken, a story constructed. Charges: assault, resisting arrest, weapon possession, and suspected narcotics intent. The case was rubber-stamped, set on the assembly line of low-level prosecutions that ended in plea deals or quiet convictions. And then came Danny Wells. At 28, Danny had seen too many files like Malcolm S. Blackman, no prior records, trumped-up charges by the same 3 officers, always resulting in guilty pleas. But something about Malcolm's silence in their first meeting told her there was more. He sat stiff-backed in the holding room, gaze locked to a corner as if guarding secrets only war veterans knew. She introduced herself. "I'm your attorney. I'd like to hear your version of events." No response. "They're claiming you assaulted the store clerk, but they found drugs and a weapon on you." His eyes moved slowly. "Staff Sergeant Royce, Special Recon, Delta Division." Danny blinked. "You were military?" He nodded once. That was all. Danny left the jail unsettled, a thread pulled loose in a tightly wound story. That night, she searched for military records, only to find none. No Malcolm Royce in active duty, no DD 214, no medical discharge. It was as if the man never served. She went deeper, past online records, reaching out to veteran contacts, advocacy forums, archivists. Most hit dead ends. But a retired officer named Reuben Clay called her back. "You said Royce?" he asked. "There was a Sergeant Royce. Quiet, sharp as a blade. Led a team that pulled us out of Alcoffer back in '07. That's when Danny knew. Royce hadn't disappeared. He'd been erased. She requested surveillance footage from the corner of Mason and Broad, showing Malcolm quietly seated before the police arrived. She subpoenaed body cam recordings only to be told they were lost due to a system failure. In court, Judge Alan Crowley, a man known for siding with law enforcement, listened impassively as the DA rattled off Malcolm's charges. Danny, armed with incomplete files and intuition, requested a stay to build her defense. Crowley gave her 2 days. During that time, Danny met an informant, Officer Lou Bennett, who passed her a drive under a coffee shop table. This was backed up manually, he said, before the system crash. On the drive, a full recording from Doyle's body cam. The footage showed Malcolm being thrown to the ground without resistance. The voice of Officer Kilpatrick saying, "Put the blade in the side pocket." Danny took the video straight to Judge Crowley's chambers. His hands trembled slightly as he paused the footage, staring at the frozen frame of planted evidence. "Where did you get this?" he asked. "It doesn't matter," Danny replied. "What matters is it proves Mr. Royce's innocence." The courtroom the next day was packed. Veterans filled the gallery, word having spread. Danny played the footage for the jury. Audible gasps followed Kilpatrick's voice. The DA scrambled. The judge called an immediate recess. During that break, a reporter named Mason Trent approached Danny outside the courthouse. "I've been tracking stories like this," he said. "Royce isn't the first, and I doubt he's the last." Mason published a story that night. The headline read, "Erased Hero, the war vet the system tried to bury." It went viral. By the time court reconvened, the city's mood had changed. Protesters gathered outside. Non-stop. The charges against Malcolm were dismissed. But the story didn't end there. Judge Crowley ordered a review of every arrest made by Dempsey, Doyle, and Kilpatrick. Within a week, 12 convictions were vacated. A federal investigation began. The 3 officers were indicted on charges of falsifying evidence, obstruction, and civil rights violations. Malcolm declined every interview, every book deal, every documentary proposal. He moved into a modest apartment provided by the Veteran Affairs Housing Program, with Sergeant Amutta as his only roommate. He spent his days quietly volunteering at the community center, teaching kids how to shoot photos with old film cameras, how to tell their stories. One afternoon, Danny stopped by to deliver an envelope from the Department of Defense. Inside, a reinstated honorable discharge certificate and a medal of valor long overdue. He smiled softly, eyes crinkling. "They're 15 years too late," he said. "Maybe," Danny replied. "But you're right on time." And in the quiet corners of the city where people once saw a ghost, Malcolm Royce began to live again. Not as a case file, not as a headline, but as a man finally seen.